Welcome back, everybody.
It's Friday.
It's Friday.
It's the weekend.
The last episode of week 2.
Week 2. Episode 6.
What a ride it's been.
We're just getting started.
Just getting started.
We've not even gotten off the first exit to get gas yet. We're just now getting started. I'm telling you.
That's a great way
We're
to put
not
it.
even at 3/4 the tank. Okay?
But again, welcome back to the Below Average Joe's UFC podcast.
Anyways, welcome back.
Episode 6, correct?
Episode 6.
And obviously this week we're doing our preview for UFC Apex 7. Pedro Munoz versus Frankie Edgar at bantamweight. Frankie Edgar's debut in the division.
Long awaited.
But we'll be getting into that later.
Oh, you already know what's coming.
We'll be doing the UFC news, but first I want to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by Monster Energy and Speedway Coffee.
Now, why is that?
So, for those of you that don't know, this podcast is being recorded at 11:30 p.m.
11:30 p.m. on Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Video goes live in 12 hours.
This was meant to be recorded about 7 hours ago.
This is true.
I am having a tough time adjusting my sleep schedule to my new internship.
It's getting the best of you.
Basically, I go in at about 7 a.m. and it's about an hour and 10 minutes away.
That's the kicker.
Yeah.
You got to wake up so early because you got to drive so far.
Yeah, so I wake up at about 4 a.m. every day.
Hey.
Well, that's when I have to be up by, I should say. And, so shout out Monster Energy. Shout out Speedway Coffee.
Hey, if any of those two are actually listening, we're...
hit us up.
Yeah, hit us up.
But ultimately,
anyway.
I will say for Monster Energy, it did not help.
Okay.
Because I drank 2 of them bitches by the time I got home from work.
And
then I passed out in the chair for 6 hours.
Sitting straight up.
And
that's a nap.
And Dom was just left waiting in the rain for me.
Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I thought I might be doing this one solo. But here we are. We're here.
we are. And I am re-energized.
He's got the energy tonight, and that's all that matters. So, we might crank out 8 episodes tonight.
So, time for the news.
It's the news. Oh, and ladies and gentlemen, let me just tell you, after last Friday's episode, I didn't think the news segment could get much longer or more crazy.
It's crazy.
Let's just say I was wrong.
Yeah.
Because this week is... just tell him. Just tell him.
Yeah.
Just tell him.
So, I guess... when it came to doing these kind of news segments in our videos for our previews and recaps, obviously even before we started the podcast, we stayed up to date on everything UFC before that.
This is true.
But I think I never knew how much news came out in a week.
Oh, it's keeping us on
So
our
it's been
game.
kind of going by just taking it day by day, just being okay, this news story came out, let me throw that in a Google Doc or whatever. But after last Friday's episode, and really, or no, was it Monday? Monday's episode was the one with the big news, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or was it Friday? Yeah.
Well, yeah, for last Friday we had a ton of news from that week. Monday we had news.
But ultimately, I really thought there would be episodes where there would be a lull as far as the
maybe one
news.
or two things.
But boy, this news is pretty heavy.
But
and
look at all them bullet points. They can't see it, but I can.
So
that's a list.
So we'll just go ahead and get into the first one.
Here we go.
A lot of fight announcements.
Big fight announcements.
Yeah,
these ain't just little.
It's always fun. It's fun that we don't have to talk about fighters pulling out of cards, obviously, or guys on their deathbed.
Yeah.
Shout out Jeff Neal.
Who's
glad to see he's
better
doing
and better.
well.
Yeah.
But the first of our news for this week, Edson Barboza, who just made the drop to featherweight in his last fight.
Yep.
He's got his next fight announcement on October 10th.
And he's got a tough task ahead.
He's going to be fighting the up-and-coming machine.
I love this guy.
Sadiq Youssef. Dom, I'm going to let Dom start here because I know how much he loves Sadiq Youssef. So, Dom, what are your thoughts on this potential matchup?
This has all the makings to still be a super exciting fight. I'm just really high on Sadiq Yusuff ever since he made his Octagon debut, honestly. And he has just been in so many great fights. He's coming off a huge win against Andre Touchy-Feely, which is kind of that guy that gets you cracked into the top 15 of that division.
Right.
And to get a fight like Barboza so short into your career in the UFC, this is a huge challenge for him. But I personally never was big on Barboza dropping to 145. I feel like he's a big dude.
He is a big guy.
So, like, that's a lot of weight to cut. And, I mean, granted, he's huge for this division now. He lost his debut, so...
Well, his debut was against Danny Ige, who's ranked number 11 in the division.
Just came off of a barn burner with Calvin Kattar.
And that fight was very good as well. There was a lot of debate after, because it ended up going to decision.
Yeah.
Danny Ige gets the nod on the judges' scorecards.
Well, in the Barboza fight.
Yeah, in the Barboza fight, sorry.
Yeah.
And ultimately, there's a lot of debate online as to who actually won the fight. So it was very competitive.
Even differed.
I don't remember. I think I had Ige winning.
Me too.
I couldn't remember. I'm pretty sure I said Ige, and I was surprised. Not surprised, because it was a very close fight.
Yeah.
But I was surprised that, how mad some people were online that Barboza didn't get the decision.
He's a fan favorite.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
He's a guy with Barboza.
What a nice guy, too.
With Barboza, he is just... that dude, so exciting.
Oh, never in a boring
With
fight.
his striking... You just never... You have to be on the edge of your seat the whole time.
He has arguably the greatest knockout in UFC history. If you guys have not seen it, you need to look it up.
Tell him which fight it is.
Oh, gosh, that's an old one. I don't know the opponent off the top of my head.
No, what was the finish you're talking about?
Oh, the finish.
Yeah.
A spinning wheel kick straight to the face.
Yeah, that was against Terry Edom.
Yeah, he turned him into a popsicle.
I was just making sure, because just to be clear, there is multiple.
That's true.
Yeah.
Specifically talking about that spinning wheel kick.
Yeah, He even had a crazy knockout on Dariush, I believe.
Yeah, this is a guy in Barboza that has finished a fight via head kick, body kick, and leg kick. Multiple times.
It's crazy.
He's known for his kicks, and for great reason. They literally are tree trunks as legs.
Yeah. And I will make note that Barboza is on a bit of a skid right now.
He's on a skid.
He's lost his last 3 fights. And he's also lost his last 5 of 6. Now,
top of the line,
if
guys.
you look at those losses, he lost to Habib in the fight that we've talked about. That was felt pretty bad for him in that one.
Yeah.
Then after that, he loses to Kevin Lee. A great fight, a fight where he hurt Kevin Lee. That's when Kevin Lee started doing the stanky leg. Yeah. Kevin Lee missed weight for that fight as well. Just making note of it. Went
to welterweight after that.
Yeah. Not saying that. Not saying that Kevin Lee wouldn't have won anyways, just make a note. Then he gets the win over Dan Hooker, which a fight he looked incredible in.
Dan Hooker's a guy that's always game, apparently, off the fight he just had with Dustin especially, but he got, dominated by Barboza in that fight.
I will say and
he still looked good at times.
Dan Hooker, just the amount of punishment he took.
Yeah.
Especially with the body work that Barboza was doing.
Brutal.
That was brutal stuff. And then you have 3 back-to-back losses. Justin Gaethje, who's now fighting for the belt.
Yeah, he had him night on the canvas.
Then he loses to Paul Felder by split decision in what I thought was the best fight of that main card at 242. That's the one where Habib fought Poirier.
Yep.
Very close fight in that one, split decision.
Abu Dhabi, too.
And then he lost another split decision to Dan Ige. So really,
that's 2 splits in a row.
Yeah, his record overall is 20-9. And you look at it, and when I say 5 of 6 losses, you go, okay, well, he's, not what he used to be or whatever. But ultimately, man,
he fights everybody.
Once you really break it down, he could have easily have gotten that score, those decisions over Ige or Felder.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I did have the actual winners of those fights for both of them.
Yeah.
But the fact that you could make that argument and wouldn't have been surprised if one judge went the other way,
right,
just speaks to how competitive he is in these fights. And really, he's not done.
Oh, no.
And I know, you were saying, unsure about that move, the featherweight, but he was big at lightweight.
He's a big dude.
So,
if he wanted, he could potentially fit in at welterweight.
Yeah.
He'd be a little small there, but still, he's just a big guy. So I was just shocked when he moved to
featherweight. So now, he loses to the number 11 guy, but the road at featherweight does not get any easier.
Oh, it didn't get easier.
As he's going up against Sadiq Youssef. And
as
I said, you're
now.
A big fan, so I want to hear kind of your thoughts.
I think this is another guy, as we saw, Kamaru Usman became the first Nigerian-born UFC champion in the UFC. Mm-hmm. Sadiq Youssef could very well follow in his footsteps. Another Nigerian-born fighter, an absolute stud, and undefeated in the UFC through 4 fights so far. 2 stoppages, 2 decisions. And like I said, coming off of a win like Andre Fili, who's another game guy that just fights anytime against anyone, any place, and beating him, this is going to be a good fight. But Sadiq, man, you're talking about a guy just now hitting into his prime.
Yeah.
That's a good fight, though.
Actually, he's just for clarification, he's 5-0 in the UFC.
5-0 in the UFC.
His debut was on
Contender Series.
Tuesday Night Contender, where he looked awesome in that fight with Mike Davis. And then after that, he's fought some guys that, you don't really know much about. But then Gabriel Benitez, I know, has been around for a while. And then Andre Fili, who I believe I had mentioned this in one of the earlier podcasts, a guy who's really hung around that top 10 range, top 10 to, basically top 15 for a while.
That's
now.
like a guy that, you get that win on your record and you can call yourself a legitimate top 15 guy. Here you go.
This is a big challenge for both guys.
Yeah, it is.
Because really, this matchup on paper should be just the best.
Oh, yeah.
Should be just so exciting. Both guys...
Sadiq brings it.
Yeah, both guys
and Barboza brings it.
Yeah, what's nice about this is, with both of these strikers, is that you're not worried, at least in my opinion, and we could be wrong, but I'm not worried about there being a lot of stalling.
No.
We're not dealing with counterpunchers here.
No.
This isn't a potential Adesanya Romero type situation.
No.
I think both guys are coming, and they are coming to put out the other one.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be
especially with a guy like Youssef, who is trying to make a statement and show that he is like the top of the heap of featherweight. And on the other end, Barboza
trying to show he belongs.
Because he's
to get out of this skid.
I would say he's pretty pissed off about how the last 2 fights have not gone in his favor.
Yeah.
God, that fight's going to be great.
That's very exciting.
And that's going to be on either ESPN or ESPN Plus. So
that's like a fight too that I feel like could get slept on for some reason, and it don't sleep on that fight.
I wouldn't even be upset if it was the main event of that card.
I was literally going to say that.
That's what I thought you were getting at. People would look at it and be like, "Oh, that's a weak main event." No,
it's not.
If you don't know, now you know.
Yeah, Dana, hit us up.
So I guess moving on from there. Second news story of the day.
Bring it.
This, what's funny is,
we're
not the fight style, but the situations of these
similar.
next 2 guys almost copy and paste.
Yeah.
So for UFC 254, that's the card currently headlined by Khabib versus Gaethje. We got our next fight announcement for the main card. RDA.
Rafael Dos Anjos, former UFC lightweight champion.
Is going up against the
rising up-and-comer.
This guy, Islam Makhachev.
Nice.
I believe is how you pronounce
Pronunciation still 10 out of 10 so far through 6 episodes.
I feel like the standard is being set high, and I'm getting a little nervous about that. But anyways, this is a big fight announcement at this is welterweight, right?
I think it's. Is it? Well, yeah. No. I think it's back at lightweight.
Is it back
RDA's
at lightweight?
dropping back to lightweight.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah.
Because I was like in my head, I thought Islam was.
Well, RDA's been fighting a lot at welterweight recently, but this is back at lightweight.
Okay, so ultimately we have the number 12 ranked Islam, a guy who has not fought. By the time this card happens, he wouldn't have fought since 242, the aforementioned Khabib Poirier fight. So it's been a while since we've seen him.
Probably another Fight Island, really.
And currently, RDA is not currently ranked at lightweight since he did make that move to welterweight, but he was number 9 at welterweight.
Yeah.
Still very competitive in the division, man. That guy, Dana has said it himself.
Mm-hmm.
If you beat RDA,
you're basically legit.
Then you're legit.
Yeah.
because RDA is a legit. And when I say gatekeeper, I don't mean that in like a negative light, especially after what he's done.
Yeah.
Now being like a gatekeeper is not nothing to scoff at.
He's not the gatekeeper that you typically think of.
No. But I do want to make note again with the losses, where this fight is so similar in some ways to the previous one. RDA is another guy on kind of a skid right now. He's lost his last 4 or 5. But if you go fight by fight, he lost to Colby Covington, who fought for a title literally at the end of last year. Then his next loss was to Kamaru Usman.
If you don't know, that's the current champ.
The current champ.
Welterweight. These are at welterweight, by the way.
Then he beats Kevin Lee, a fight he looked incredible in, a fight that a lot of people thought Kevin Lee was going to win, and he actually finished Kevin Lee.
Was that one Kevin Lee's first fight at 170?
Yeah,
I think it
was.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of hype about that because
I personally enjoyed that.
Yeah,
I thought he could have.
I really thought Kevin Lee was gonna make a statement in that fight
because he had weight struggles at 155 too, so it was exciting to see him up.
And he still looked pretty good. I mean, size wise, it's not like he was small at welterweight either. And RDA came in and just beat the brakes off that man and got the arm triangle submission.
Sure, he still got it.
Yeah, just dominated that fight. Really,
a veteran of the game.
But after that, he gets 2 straight decision losses to Leon Edwards.
A guy that does not get enough respect.
Leon Edwards might be getting a title shot here.
Literally
soon.
ranked 3rd in the division.
Yeah, and then he loses to Michael Chiesa, who, kind of in a similar situation to RDA, but.
And another guy that went from 155 to 170.
But
he's ranked now though at 170. I think Chiesa, top 15 maybe.
He's number 8.
So
that's what I mean. They're in a similar situation.
Yeah.
So. That again, a guy who's very tough, who's been around for a while.
And he's fighting top-notch guys.
Chiesa's a guy that I could foresee. Like, it would not surprise me if he just gets the right matchups, gets on the right kind of win streak, and I could totally see him ended up in the top 5.
You know who he reminds me of?
Who?
Charles Oliveira, who's now on a roll at lightweight.
Yeah, you know what? That's a really good comparison. Like a guy who, for a while, trading some wins and losses, not a journeyman, because Oliveira's always been respected for what he can do with his submissions.
It's just like a guy you don't hear enough about almost.
It's like when he's kind of on the cusp of being a legit contender,
he'll lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But for Chiesa, I could totally see him really going on a nice win streak and being a top 5 guy in that division.
Matchups.
Yeah. So, all in all, I think it's a very exciting fight for that pay-per-view. Nice to see that pay-per-view is getting a fight like that on there.
I almost wonder if that could be the prelim headliner. You know what I mean? It's going to depend on the rest of the card.
Yeah, I don't know about
it's still
that.
2 months out.
I'm going to assume.
I hope it's main card.
I'm assuming it's going to be around the 3rd fight of the night or 2nd fight. Ultimately, when you have a guy that's a former champion who's still that competitive in RDA, and then Islam being that huge up and comer, I think that's a fight that's built around the 3rd fight of the main card.
Yeah.
Hopefully they'll get a big co-main, and then obviously the huge title fight.
Just give me that fight with no other fights, actually.
I wouldn't even mind if it was the co-main.
Habib and Justin.
Yeah.
That's a podcast for another day.
Yeah. So any other thoughts on that fight?
That's a tough fight for RDA, but it's a tough fight for Islam. And again, just like we said with Sadiq, this is the fight where Islam can prove I'm legit in this division. I'm a threat.
Yeah. Where I think the comparison stopped between these first 2 fights we've talked about, I think the first one, you're looking at a just super competitive matchup.
High pace, a lot of action.
With this fight,
wrestling.
At least my initial thoughts.
Grappling.
Well, yes, of course, the grappling, the wrestling. But my initial thoughts is that this is a matchup made to really legitimize Islam. And I know, really, if Sadiq beats Barboza, it's the same case. But I think Islam has I think that he's got the advantage here, is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. I think this is made to
he has more of an advantage than Sadiq does.
This is made to be his coming out party. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. While I think with Yusuf Barboza, that's just made to be a barn burner of a fight. So I guess moving on from there.
I mean, they just keep getting bigger.
Yeah. The third story of the day,
which we've talked about a little bit
So
previously.
we're getting confirmation on a fight that we basically pitched.
Yeah.
So we get all
most sense.
we get all the credit for this fight.
Yeah, basically.
November 28th. So quite a ways away.
He's gonna cut that weight down.
3 days after my birthday.
Hey now.
We're looking at our next big heavyweight fight.
My balls was hot.
Derek Lewis going up against Curtis
Razor Blades. That's a good one.
This fight has a lot of title implications.
Yes, it does.
Now, we kind of broke this fight down quite a bit.
Yep.
I don't know if we broke it down, but we talked about it quite a bit.
Yep.
I'm hoping by November 28th we have our next heavyweight title fight announcement by then.
I hope so.
Because, again, we're hoping by the end of the year,
Stipe and Ngannou too.
Pitched the
last pay-per-view of the year.
So, really, with the placement being November 28th, you have to wonder if the winner of this fight is either next for the title or, because we'll be getting into someone else later, or maybe the winner of this fight is who's welcoming.
I was going to say that.
Who's going to be welcoming Mr. John Jones to the heavyweight division. Because obviously we'll get into that part later.
Yeah.
But I do want to just say about John Jones going to heavyweight, because we did talk about it in a previous episode, so it's not really a surprise. I don't think his first fight at heavyweight's for the belt. I think he gets.
You think he might honestly want a warm up, just to get used to the weight.
I think the power, the size, the weight, or not size,
I think
but
he
the power,
genuinely is curious to see, if you've been seeing his tweets and stuff recently, he wants to take probably the next 6 months and sculpt his body.
Right.
If you don't know, his brothers are NFL players. They're massive. Yeah. One of them is one of the best defensive players in the NFL, Chandler
Jones.
So, I really am curious to see how John can change his body for heavyweight.
Yeah, I don't foresee him looking very big at heavyweight. Even, I know he'll probably be a lighter side heavyweight, probably 225, 230.
Yeah.
But I don't see him looking very big. I mean, I think he'll still have skinny legs and stuff like that. But that guy's speed at that division is going to be incredible. Now, for Lewis Blades, I want to say that if what I just mentioned comes into existence with the winner kind of being that welcoming party for John Jones at heavyweight, think about Curtis Blades, right? Who I'm giving the advantage early on to in this fight.
Yeah, I agree.
With Curtis Blades, a wrestler, a grappler, a guy who grinds out these wins, not usually in the most exciting of fashion,
but dominant.
But dominantly. Now, when I say that, I will always plug that fight with Overeem.
Yeah.
With those vicious elbows that literally just.
Kids, cover your ears. He's doing it again.
No, I'm done. Okay. I can't elaborate anymore.
Okay.
I painted the picture before.
Yeah.
So, but ultimately, if you look at some of his bigger fights, that second fight with Ngannou where he gets knocked out in 45 seconds.
Yep.
That was placed on a fight night in China.
That no one even got to see
because
4:30 in the morning.
In the United States, it was being shown before the rooster crowed.
Yeah, when you're waking up for work.
Yeah, and then you got so really, this guy, and then with that fight with Overeem, that was bumped to the prelims so that CM Punk's second fight with Mike Jackson could open the main card. So really, Curtis Blades is kind of in this unfortunate situation where his win streak, the guys he's beat, may warrant him a title shot, but his name has no recognition.
Nope, not at all.
But imagine the platform that guy's going to be on if he's welcoming John Jones to the heavyweight division. So I think
a big what if.
I think that makes a lot of sense for the UFC to try to book something like that, because honestly, that's a card
real threat to John.
That's a card that legitimately would probably just be a headliner, no title fight. John Jones is that big for the UFC.
That's tough. I like the idea.
I don't imagine Jones being a co-main. You look at that fight with OSP. They kept that on the at the main event when you had Mighty Mouse and Cejudo, I believe, as the co-main for an actual title.
Yeah.
I know it was the flyweight title, which has never been very popular, I guess, with the casual fans. But I just think that's the kind of matchup. It kind of reminds me of that McGregor-Cowboy type matchup.
Yeah.
Where it's like, their big star is back. Obviously, McGregor a bigger star than Jones as far as pay-per-views, but
it's a much bigger fight if Derek Lewis were to beat Curtis Blades, and Derek Lewis welcomes John Jones. But it then is not as a
it's not as beneficial
competitive fight.
Because I think
yeah.
no offense
to Derek Lewis.
I just think John Jones handed
Curtis Blades is a harder fight for John Jones. It's a
really,
bigger version of Daniel Cormier.
If I'm being honest, I think both guys get beat pretty easily by Jones, but
I see where your head's at. I like the idea.
I just like the idea of Curtis Blades getting that platform.
But yeah, that fight is a number one contender fight to me for sure. If it's not the welcome fight for John at heavyweight. But
again, in this matchup, I mean,
this is a striker versus grappler if I've ever seen one.
Derek Lewis just beat Alexei Oleinik.
Shout out our pilot episode.
Yeah, our pilot episode. Looked very good in that fight. Curtis
Says
Blades,
he wants to cut down weight, so that's why they pushed this back to November.
Right.
We'll see if he actually goes through with it.
Yeah, we'll see. Curtis Blades coming off that dominating decision over Alexander Volkov. And, again, he's been calling for that title shot. And I am not necessarily in agreement with him on it, and neither was Dana White, who basically said, get good.
Yeah.
But on paper, I think this matchup is very interesting.
It's fun.
Because Curtis Blades' only weaknesses in his career have been with the Ngannou fights.
And we know what Derek's
with that power
are.
that Ngannou possesses. Now, Derek Lewis does not necessarily possess Ngannou power.
But
he's definitely like that if Ngannou's like an A+ tier power for the heavyweight division, Derek Lewis is like A.
Yeah. At most knockouts in UFC heavyweight history.
Yeah, that guy definitely puts people to sleep.
Yeah.
So it's a great challenge for Blades to see, okay, can his chin hold up in this division?
And can Lewis stay on his feet?
So
literally
both guys are offered a big challenge here in their kind of spots in their career.
Yep.
And
that's
very
a
exciting.
Contender.
That'll probably be the main event for that 28th fight night.
It's definitely a fight night main event for sure.
So very exciting stuff there, and there will be more to come with that, I'm sure. Hopefully that fight sees the light of day. It's still a long ways away.
Yeah.
But this one I think is a big one for you.
The GOAT,
GOAT.
Halloween, happy!
October,
oh my goodness, happy Halloween!
October 31st.
The Spider.
Anderson Silva is deciding to dress up as the Spider. I think we're gonna have to cut that.
Yeah,
I think we're gonna have to cut that.
Just skip ahead 5 seconds, folks. Anyways, the Spider's back. Just gonna take a break.
All right, Anderson Silva's next fight, and
you need me to announce it. Okay. So Anderson Silva's back, folks, and he is fighting Uriah Hall. Now we've mentioned Uriah Hall recently. He just had his fight with Yoel Romero that was supposed to happen actually on Saturday's fight night that we're previewing in this episode, but unfortunately Yoel came down with an injury. So Dana got Uriah on the phone and booked him up a fight against my GOAT, Anderson Silva, October 31st. Are you back?
Oh, man. Man. No, okay.
You're losing it. I
know.
need you.
I'm losing. All right. I think I'm back.
Okay, he's back.
Okay, so what was mentioned, I believe, at that post-fight press conference when they were asking about Anderson Silva's next fight.
Two fights left on his
Dana
contract.
admitted, he said it. Usually he doesn't do this, but he said, he's like, yeah, we're looking at Uriah Hall. Usually he,
that's a fun fight.
It's a fun fight, but
it's an interesting fight.
A lot of people are wondering if this is Anderson Silva's retirement fight.
So I saw that he technically has 2 fights left on his contract.
Right.
I could see him fighting this one and then wanting to go out in Brazil, but then again with COVID and everything going on, who knows if that'll even be able to happen.
Right.
So this could very well be his last fight, and I think it's a great striker versus striker. It's another like him versus Israel type fight. Obviously, Uriah Hall, I'm not saying he's on the level of Israel Adesanya, but you get what I'm saying.
At one time, Uriah Hall had a lot of hype behind him.
He really did.
You looked at his run on The Ultimate Fighter where he was...
crazy spinning a heel kick knockout there.
Putting people to sleep.
Yeah.
And really, he's just never really been able to put it all together.
Yep.
again, he's had some trouble since COVID even getting a fight to go into the octagon. Both of his fights that have been planned in the last few months since they came back after COVID and whatnot have been canceled due to his opponent having to drop out of the card. So, on paper, I think this does kind of scream like that Silva-Adesanya fight. I think it's going to be pretty competitive.
I think this genuinely, I feel Silva can win this fight.
I mean, I'm not saying he can't. I just, I guess what I worry about is we have not seen Anderson Silva since his last fight was against
leg injury.
Jared Cannonier. Cannonier, again, definitely...
Number 3
I don't want to say he's better than Uriah Hall. I'm just saying that he's definitely got more...
He's on a tear right now.
Yeah, he's definitely got a little more hype on him right now. His stock is higher right now, I should say. Cannonier gets that leg kick and Silva just drops.
Yeah, it's weird.
Uriah
just like
Hall,
all of Silva's last fights.
And Uriah Hall is a very powerful kicker as well.
He is.
So I don't know how this fight goes. I don't really it's hard for me to even picture Anderson Silva being knocked out, especially in a highlight reel type fashion. I know the Weidman fight happened, but that was definitely like more on him in that fight.
He's definitely taken shots in his day, and
even the Adesanya fight, he was taking big shots. I mean, Brunson looked pretty he was putting some
he'll
shots
give you
on
that
him.
little wobble, but and then he's back.
So I mean, on paper, I really don't know how this matchup's going to go, and I'm glad I don't have to predict right now.
It could almost be, two counter strikers going at each other too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be boring, but you just never know.
You never know. So
but on paper, you see this and you're like, oh.
It's going to be a tough fight to really predict when it comes time to do so in a couple months. So very exciting stuff, though. It's when you have a legend like Anderson Silva,
everybody's going to tune into that.
Yeah, and that's your GOAT. That's your favorite fighter of all time.
It is.
So I know you'll be tuning in.
Oh, I'll be tuning in. Notepad and all.
Notepad and all.
And giving candy to trick-or-treaters, apparently.
Yeah.
How dare. You really fell apart on me there.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Now, I'm going to finally call for it. Can we get L's in the comments for Noah? Huh. You've called for him twice on me. So... I just wanted to point that out.
All right, so
get into the next bullet.
So the next story of the
We're
day.
Still in the news. We told you there's a lot of news.
We have a while, and hopefully I can keep it together for.
Keep it together. 4 bullet points left. Come on.
We mentioned Michael Chandler on a few podcasts. So
Former Bellator champ.
Just a Bellator lifer, essentially.
Decade long.
We were making a lot of noise about him coming to the UFC, and apparently that's for good reason because he's been doing the same thing on Twitter.
Dana White even said, "I want to meet with this."
Yeah,
kid.
you want to meet with him. He's been hinting at a few different fights, and this was something that I thought about that I almost had on our news for I believe Monday's show. Ended up being cut. I believe it was either Monday or last Friday, but Michael Chandler was hinting at a fight with Dan Hooker, kind of being like, oh, I think that fight would be a lot of fun, or best fight ever, whatever he said.
That fight doesn't even compare to this.
But then he posted a GIF on Twitter of a diamond.
Of a diamond. Now, if you don't know, that's hinting at the diamond, Dustin Poirier.
Yeah.
My champ 1 year from now, by the way, if you haven't listened to our predictions in our last video, be sure to go check that out.
Yeah.
But that's my lightweight champ a year from now. I can't be having this. Welcoming in a Bellator fighter.
I will say him calling for that fight with Poirier, that's dangerous for him.
That's dangerous, but it's dangerous for Dustin, I think.
Well, I guess I'm saying...
Who has more to lose here, is the way I'm looking at it.
I honestly think Michael Chandler has more to lose.
Really?
Because Dustin Poirier loses that fight, and it goes, okay, well, Michael Chandler's just that good. Like, he's able to compete with the top of the heap in the UFC.
I mean...
If Michael Chandler loses, then...
You see it as a Ben Askren almost situation.
Hold on. Michael Chandler loses, and, yeah, I guess in a way Ben Askren, but I'm thinking more it just it halts kind of that.
He's not good enough to be in the top 5.
He's gonna he's gonna be drumming up some hype for himself. He goes into that first fight with Poirier, he loses. It's just like a disappointing feeling, right? You're like, oh, he ain't quite at the top. And I know you think Dustin Poirier you're thinking champ at this time next year, so you think he's obviously has the makings of a number 1 guy in the division.
Yep, he's in his stride right now.
But that's an interesting fight.
It is.
I don't quite think Chandler should. I don't really know.
If I'm Chandler, don't get me wrong, I want to get hype around my name. I want to fight a top 10. But to be coming at Dustin Poirier's neck right now, oof, that is risky. I'd hate to see Dustin take on this guy coming in from Bellator when he's literally 1 fight away from the title again. That's, I guess, what bugs me. Yeah, I want to see Dustin fight Conor. I want to see Dustin fight Tony. I don't want to, not that I don't want to see him fight this dude, Michael Chandler from Bellator, but you know what I mean? I hope I made that clear, I guess.
Yeah, and you're a big Dustin fan.
Yes.
So, you admitted as such. You can
yeah,
tell
I'm
by
a
the way you're
big
talking.
Dustin fan.
And don't get me wrong, I love Dustin Poirier. I don't want to act like when I'm saying you're big fans of these guys that I'm not. It's just that I think that I think when I'm viewing these fights, I'm looking at it more objectively instead of just for you as a fan, like what you want to see him do. But you do have a point that Dustin is technically a fight away from a title shot, but you have to also consider that for as long as Khabib is champion, it's going to be hard for Dustin to get a rematch.
I agree.
And obviously we predicted, and Khabib has almost hinted at, that he has 2 fights left.
Yeah.
But I definitely would love to see Dustin rematch Gaethje. I'd love to see him fight Tony or Conor.
I saw a tweet today, and it just said, could you imagine the violence in this fight? And it was a picture of Dustin and Tony. And I sat there for a second, and I'm like, I can't. I cannot imagine. That could be one of the best UFC fights to ever happen.
It could. Now, I will say that after coming off that really great fight with Dan Hooker, Poirier's kind of in an awkward spot because you have Khabib and Gaethje booked for October. We don't know when Tony's going to fight again.
He's been hinting at stuff, but he
got beat up in that fight with Gaethje. He took a beating. And that just happened in May, I believe. So it's not like, he might not be fighting again until the end of the year. And then you got Conor, who Dana has said will not fight again in 2020, and you never know with him. He may never fight again. Technically, he's retired right now.
He might box. Who knows?
Yeah,
you never know.
You don't know with him, so he's a wild card. So really, after that is Hooker, who he just beat.
Yeah.
And I think when you get lower than that, you got Oliveira, who just got announced with Dariush.
So really, right now it is Tony or welcome Michael Chandler to the UFC. This is all assuming he even gets signed with the UFC.
Because then if you even go one step lower, you're looking at Paul Felder, who is really embracing that commentary role.
Yeah, he's kind of said he's retired unless something really interesting.
Yeah, and I don't foresee Poirier really going that low in the rankings because he's coming off a big win over Hooker, the number 5 guy. So, he's in an awkward spot. We may not see Dustin fight again until the end of the year unless it's a fight with Michael Chandler, which could be the end of the year. But
as more time goes on, I think Michael Chandler will sign with the UFC. It's looking promising.
The fact
when Dana said he wanted to meet with him, I was like, okay, this could be
and
real.
The fact that Michael Chandler himself keeps hinting at all these UFC fights tells me he wants to go to the UFC.
Yeah.
So I do think that might be the fight that gets made, just because Poirier really doesn't have a. There's not an obvious matchup
outside of Tony.
Yeah. Again, there's just, you don't know when these guys are going to want to fight next. I think Dustin could be booked. I think Dustin could be ready to fight in October.
Yeah.
But I don't know if Tony's going to be ready in October.
Yeah.
And Poirier took some damage in that Hooker fight, but it didn't. It didn't feel like my takeaway wasn't, all right, Poirier needs to take 6 months off.
Yeah.
It was more just those guys were beating each other up.
It was a war.
But with Tony got beat up.
That was bad.
So, all in all, I do think I would much rather see a Dustin versus Tony, or even a Dustin versus Conor, or Dustin versus Gaethje 2 as his next fight. But
I'm definitely not opposed.
I'm definitely
to this.
game for a Chandler fight. I just I think it would be Poirier settling a bit.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of the way to put it.
Yeah.
So any other last thoughts?
I'm looking at that next bullet point, and I just want you to say it.
Yeah. So the way my bullets go when we get our news stories is I literally just, like, with fight announcements, it just says Edson Barboza versus Sadiq Yusuf - October 10. So that way I know what the fight is, what the date of it is. This one, this announcement, I literally just put Rumble Johnson is back. Back in all caps.
Rumble.
And I put even the question mark and then exclamation. So
Anthony Rumble Johnson
is back.
He's back.
And he's back at light heavyweight.
Yeah. We're talking about a guy, we mentioned this before we started recording. If you guys don't know, by the way, Anthony Rumble Johnson is like a staple in the UFC. A guy that has fought all the way down at welterweight, which is hard to believe if you look at this guy because he's a freak of nature.
Yeah.
And when he retired, he got all the way up to like almost 300 pounds, like a power lifter.
Yeah, he looked like a bodybuilder.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And everybody thought for years, basically, since he retired back in, I want to say 2017.
And even him hinting at, like, if I come back, it's going to be at heavyweight.
Yeah, like everybody kept saying, all right, can't wait to see him make his heavyweight debut. And now he's back. At least he's officially saying
in the USADA testing pool for the UFC.
He's saying that he's planning to make a comeback. Yeah. But it's at light heavyweight.
Light heavyweight, 205 pounds.
And I'm actually kind of glad it's light heavyweight.
Well, I'm just going to be honest. Yeah. Not that I'm, like, talking bad about him. I think, you see that guy named John Jones leave the division, and you're like, okay, this is opening up for me here. That's kind of my take on it. Mm-hmm. I'm by no means saying... Because, like, Rumble never got to fight John Jones, unfortunately. It was booked, and they had that crazy face-off where they got scared Dana White and stuff. But it never got to happen.
Right.
So we're talking about a guy that has challenged for the title twice, right?
Yep. Both times against Daniel
DC,
Cormier.
both times losing via submission, both times.
Mm-hmm.
After having a successful round one both times, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yep.
So this is a guy that's, been in there with the top dogs, challenged for a title, and now he's back. 3 years off. I'm interested to see how he looks.
I guess why I'm excited he's going to light heavyweight. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some of those matchups at heavyweight would be awesome.
Yeah, it's like this new breed of fighters that's there now. He's not gotten to fight any of these guys.
But the matchups at light heavyweight excite me even more.
Yeah.
Him versus Dominic Reyes.
Yes.
Him versus Thiago Santos.
Yes.
Him versus Yuri Prochazka.
Yeah.
Him versus Volkan. Like
Anthony Smith, Jan Blachowicz, like any of them. He's never fought any of them. They're fun matchups, every single one of them.
Yeah.
Anthony Johnson is known for his knockouts, by the way. I guess we didn't say that.
That guy has
crazy
power in his hands.
Punch power.
And that's why I think everybody was so excited for him to go to heavyweight, because that power. Imagine him
especially the size he was
him
at.
versus Ngannou. I mean,
and he had an Instagram live. I don't know if you saw this. Someone commented on it like, first fight back against Ngannou. He literally looks at the camera and goes, hell no. Why would I want to make my first fight back against Ngannou? But, totally, like, this is a guy with a huge following.
Yeah.
People love watching him fight. This is big for a division that just a week ago we said was one of the weakest and, like, least interesting. Mm-hmm. Now, all of a sudden, John Jones is gone. We got an interim title fight, which we're about to get into in the news. Rumble Johnson's back. Anthony Smith is fighting in 2 weeks. Like, woo! This division's on fire right now.
Thiago Santos and Glover Teixeira. We didn't even talk about Glover Teixeira, who, by the way, Anthony Johnson knocked out Glover Teixeira in, 11 seconds?
It was quick.
Literally just bop. Just one straight right.
Gone.
Done. Glover, who just beat up Anthony Smith.
Yeah.
So, man, those
the light
matchups,
heavyweight division.
It feels good to be excited about light heavyweight.
This is the division that was the staple for the UFC for years.
Yeah. If you look back at those post Ultimate Fighter 1 days. I mean, look at the hot potato that title division, the title picture had. You start with Chuck Liddell on his run. He gets beat by Rampage Jackson, who then immediately gets beat by Forrest Griffin, who then immediately gets beat by Rashad Evans, who then immediately gets beat by Lyoto Machida, who then immediately gets beat by Shogun Rua, who then immediately gets beat by John Jones.
Oh.
And then that's been...
Okay, the last 9.5 years.
That's the last immediate right there.
Fun fact, this segues us, I guess, perfectly into the next bullet point.
Yeah.
There has not been a light heavyweight champion other than John Jones and or Daniel Cormier in the last 9.5 years. But that changes in a little over a month's time.
That changes because we talked a lot about, in our last episode, about the official announcement of the 253 main event. Paulo Costa, Israel Adesanya, middleweight title. But we have our co-main, and it is not Robert Whittaker and Jared Cannonier.
Oh, it's not.
It is the interim light heavyweight title on the line as Jan Blachowicz takes on Dominic Reyes.
Dominic Reyes, by the way, my fighter who I mentioned as who would be my prediction, I should say, for light heavyweight champion this time next year.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. My whole prediction for the light heavyweight division, you could just scrap it.
Yeah, scrap it.
John Jones ain't going back.
Nope.
It's going to be one of these two guys, Rumble Johnson, Thiago Santos. Then you got Yuri Perchaka. That's the title picture.
Up and coming prospect. I'm telling you, the light heavyweight division.
Even if Anthony Smith can bounce back from that Glover fight, he's definitely up there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at that run he went on before John Jones kind of just beat the brakes off of him.
Yeah.
I mean, John Jones gone.
That
whole picture's opened up now.
This whole division it
feels like the boogeyman's finally left the house.
And DC's gone.
DC's gone.
Dude, I'm telling you.
What an exciting time.
I love it. I really love it.
But for this actual fight, actually, you know what? I want to get your thoughts. Who should Rumble's first fight back be?
Wowzers.
Because you have to wonder if he's gonna,
definitely top 10.
He has not fought in 3 years as of now.
I still think he
might be
top 10.
Might be 3.5
You got to
years.
think when he retired, it was after losing a championship.
Yeah,
fight.
he literally lost that fight against Cormier.
He went out at the step below, going out on top. You know what I mean?
I mean, I definitely think it's top 10, but how high up are we thinking?
You know what I think is kind of fun. I'm looking at your screen here because my phone's locked right now. I'm thinking why not give him the winner of the Anthony Smith and Rochik fight coming up? Maybe that fight makes sense. Maybe even Santos versus Glover win because it could potentially be a rematch between him and
either
Glover.
Of those two, or even Volkan Oezdemir.
Yeah, any of those 9 through 5.
Yeah,
I think any of those make sense.
Yeah,
but 100% a top 10 fighter.
Yeah,
put this guy back in.
I definitely think.
And if I'm the UFC, a guy like Rumble, I want him in the title picture.
Yeah.
From a promotional standpoint, yeah.
And I feel like he's just below that status to where I don't think he comes in and immediately gets a title shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I agree. He definitely
comes in and earns it.
Yes.
Which is nice to see.
Whether it's one fight, two fights.
This isn't like a guy like Jones who comes back and immediately gets placed in the title picture. He's going to earn it.
Yeah. Really, depending on who he fights, right? It could be one fight.
It could
But
be.
I see it maybe two. But again, like I said, depends on who he fights.
You don't know.
Depends on what happens in the division.
A lot of it depends on how some of these big fights go. If Glover beats Thiago Santos, and that puts him
talk about an upset.
You put him at number 2. Rumble knocked him out in 11 seconds.
Rematch him, and there you go. Right back in the title.
Yeah, so I mean, this could go so many ways, but it just feels good to be talking
Look at this excitement.
With anticipation for the
light heavyweight division. I love it.
And I don't want to act like that division hasn't had anything. It just felt like the whole division had been revolving around Jones
and DC. That's it.
Whoever they were fighting, that was the fight that we were talking about.
Yeah.
But now...
Well, it was John's going to win again. Oh, DC's going to win again. Now?
And even though we thought he lost his last 2 fights, and I was excited about a potential Reyes rematch, and it's kind of a shame that fight doesn't get to happen for Reyes, who I thought won that fight.
If you're Reyes, though, at least you're getting your title shot.
Yeah,
but I do
title
agree,
shot.
like, he wanted that rematch. He wanted to prove that he beat John.
So for this matchup,
Yeah,
Jan Blachowicz
Jan
and
Blachowicz.
Dominic Reyes, what are your initial thoughts?
I think it's fun. Blachowicz is on a tear right now. Reyes is on a tear. He was undefeated until he lost to Jones, which, again, we haven't said it enough through 6 episodes so far. We both think Reyes beat John Jones. The judges, of course, did not. I think it's a fun fight. Both strikers. Dominic is a very technical, precise striker. Jan is a technical striker, but he's more the guy with the one-punch power, as we saw in his last couple fights.
He's shown he has more power, I think.
So, I think it's a fun fight. I don't think there's a clear-cut winner. Like, there's a guy maybe I lean more toward that we'll discuss next month. Mm-hmm. But I think as a fight, it could be a very fun fight.
Yeah, Jan Blachowicz is on a 3-fight winning streak. Knocked out Luke Rockhold. That was
welcome to light heavyweight.
Yeah, welcome to light heavyweight. Rockhold, man, that punch, and I know there's, Luke Rockhold's been kind of memed for his chin.
Old Lukey's going on.
But that knockout was still awesome to see.
Yeah.
I mean, Blachowicz after the fight said he saw that punch. He saw that in his dreams about 10,000, or went through his head like 10,000 times, and I believe him. Like it just looked like so choreographed, like just bam, right there, out.
Yeah.
Then he gets a decision win over Jacare Souza.
Yeah.
A pretty boring fight. I remember watching that live. But Jacare, that was also Jacare's debut at light heavyweight.
Yeah.
So
Blachowicz ain't letting none of these middleweights come up into his division.
He's been like, welcome.
Yeah. We'll send you back down.
Send you back down.
Yeah.
And then obviously the fight that got him the title
He
fight.
sent Corey Anderson to Bellator.
He sent him to Bellator. Corey Anderson, who was, coming off a lot of hype after that big win he had against Johnny Walker, the surging prospect. Mm-hmm. They match up, and he knocks out Corey Anderson in 3 minutes. Knocks him out.
Jan, it's kind of like one of those where it's almost overdue for him, sort of. Because really, what is that, 7 of his last 8 fights he's won? The only loss to Thiago Santos, the guy you picked to be champion this time next year. So Jan has always been fighting those top guys as well, but in his case, he's been beaten. So now he's finally getting that title shot. Yeah. And what a guy to have it against.
I think I'm even someone who's guilty of doing this. I think there's a lot of people overlooking Jan in the title picture and in this fight. Dominic Reyes, again, we thought he beat John Jones. It was at least John Jones' probably most competitive fight, which is saying a lot because we thought that fight was Santos. You have the Gustafsson fight. I mean, even the second DC fight before he finished them. Like, these are fights that were competitive.
Yep.
But his most competitive fight against Reyes. So I think a lot of people are assuming that Reyes is going to win this fight, but this is no easy fight for him.
No, not at all.
And while I'm still leaning towards Reyes, the younger guy, the more technical guy, the bigger guy, or I should say the taller, lankier guy.
More athletic, probably.
You've seen that work so well for Jones in that division, and I feel like Reyes might kind of follow that same sort of path. But, man, would not surprise me at all if Blachowicz comes in and I wouldn't even be surprised if he finished him.
Yeah, I'm so excited to do a preview show for that pay-per-view now.
Yeah.
As if the main event wasn't enough for me. Yeah. Now, we don't even know the other fights on that card. There's a couple other ones that are decent too. I don't know if off the top of my head, but there's other good fights.
But most importantly, 2 title fights.
Yeah. Hello.
So it's going to be really exciting to break that down. Shout out to the UFC for getting that done too, because light heavyweight, I mean, Jones held out, had been talking about going to heavyweight for a year.
Everything happened so
quick. The whole
quick.
division was kind of being held up, and Dana said there will be a title fight by the end of 2020. They gave Jones the option. Jones said, I'm going to heavyweight. They said, all right.
It all went so seamlessly well.
Yeah.
It really worked out great.
Yeah. And it feels
for
like
everybody.
And it feels like the right time too, because Reyes and Blachowicz have not fought since late winter.
Yep.
Or early spring, however you want to. I don't know what months. I know Blachowicz fought in January, and then Reyes was February.
Right? Yeah.
So both guys have not fought in a while, but it feels like this is the perfect time, because it's like if it would have went any longer, then you'd be like, all right, you're holding up the division.
Yep.
But at least now we can finally move on.
There's clarity across the board.
Yeah. The only negative to any of this is that nobody takes it from Jones.
Right, which
And
is
who knows
never
if that would have ever happened.
Yeah.
But it just feels good to kind of get someone to move on. We get a new champion for the first time in a decade, essentially. And I can't wait for that matchup.
It's awesome.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, really, Jones to heavyweight.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
Now it's just official. Like, more than likely, anyway. I guess it's not official, but he's basically said he's going to take some time, let the heavyweight division play out with Stipe and Ngannou, more than likely. Mm-hmm. He's going to, transform his body. And if he comes back at all, it will be at heavyweight. So
I'm predicting right now, and I can be held to this if this doesn't happen. I am predicting Jones will have one fight at heavyweight before he fights for a title. And I think that'll either be.
Do you think he wants that? Because Dana said he'd straight up give him a title shot.
I think that's what he wants. And I know that's
weird
to say, like you can get a title shot, but when you're John Jones, and technically he has the one loss on his record, but it's by disqualification. Shout out to Matt Hamill,
Ohio boy.
But when you have that one, really you're undefeated.
Yeah.
So it's not like he has nothing to lose if he was to lose the first fight at heavyweight, the title fight at heavyweight.
That ruins a lot of hype, though.
Yeah. So I think he needs to be careful.
Yeah.
I think he is. He's talking about taking time to transform.
He really wants to see what he can do with his body.
And I mean, you saw when originally at UFC 197 when he was coming back from kind of, I don't know if that was the first time he popped for PEDs or if that was just after all the shit that went on with him getting suspended for coke and the hit and run and all that. He was supposed to fight Daniel Cormier at UFC 197, their rematch, but then DC had to pull out.
Yep.
So then he matches up with Ovince St. Preux, and I know that wasn't the original booking, but he was more than and he looked rusty in that fight.
Yeah.
So I think for him, I think it might be smart to take one fight before the belt. So I'm predicting right now he will either fight the winner of Blades and Lewis, or he will fight the loser of Stipe and Ngannou.
That makes sense. Either one.
Because I think, I don't even want to say assuming, but hopefully Stipe and Ngannou 2 happens by, I would say by the latest, like February.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at Jones making his debut around April, I would say.
Yeah.
So either the loser of that fight, or you have Blades and Lewis, which could be, set up very well for that to happen. I think that whoever he faces, if he wins, then he's next for the belt. And some of those matchups, really the two off top, him versus Ngannou and him versus Stipe. I know what I said on Wednesday. I said I thought Jones would handedly beat Stipe. But just the build up for that, the anticipation,
the thought of it,
yeah, and just that thought in the back of my head, like,
and now it's
my
such
favorite
a possibility.
my favorite fighter, Stipe, like that thought, like he could really dethrone the possible GOAT.
Stipe could launch himself from number 10 on our list to
number 1.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, like I'm just there's so, and then the matchup with him and Ngannou.
Yikes.
I almost feel like it would be harder for him. Like I think a matchup with Ngannou might be harder for him than Stipe, and I'm predicting Stipe to beat Ngannou.
Yeah.
Just because Ngannou, like that power and that size.
Yeah.
We have not seen Jones really have to go through someone with that kind of ability.
Yeah.
Regardless of how maybe the lack of technicality, is that what I'm looking for there?
Yeah, let's go with it.
And Ngannou's striking, like that
he just
punching
has the
power.
Yeah.
One punch, and you're looking at a guy who is going to be small as far as his
compared
bulk.
to Ngannou.
Yeah, so
especially.
God, so exciting he's making that move, and I'm very excited to see it. Hopefully it really all comes to fruition. There's still some chatter online about maybe this is all just that a lot of this is really just
a gimmick,
negotiation tactic.
Yeah.
Because you saw, like, if you go back to Conor getting that fight against Eddie Alvarez at 205, originally Habib signed to fight Eddie.
Yeah.
And then the rug kind of gets pulled out from under him. So we'll see if it really comes to fruition, but I really hope it does because I'm very excited.
Oh, yeah, man. That's
see
awesome.
it. So that pretty much wraps up the news for today.
That's the news.
Yeah.
All right, we're done. No, we're just kidding. We have a whole preview show to get into.
So
we got fights tomorrow.
Yeah, so we talked about this on Monday, I believe. Might have said it at the end of Wednesday, I'm not sure. But with this card for Saturday, a lot of people on this card we didn't know much about. We said we were going to go do our homework.
We had to do some homework.
And I'm glad we did, because I'm a lot more excited now than I was just a few days ago.
You know, I want to tell everybody listening, if you look this card up online, UFC Vegas 7, we've got Munoz versus Edgar, a great bantamweight main event. Frankie Edgar making his long-awaited debut at 135 pounds. But for the casual fan, we want to get these people into the sport. If you look at this card, you're gonna probably turn away from it. You're gonna watch something else on Saturday night. These fights have potential to be incredible. I don't care what their names are, how big of a star they are, if they never become a star. The matchups and, from what we've seen and, what we're going to talk about in this episode, don't sleep on these fights.
Yeah. And just to kind of run down the main card here, main event, bantamweight fight, Pedro Munoz versus Frankie Edgar. Then you got back-to-back light heavyweight fights, Ovince St. Preux, who I just mentioned, going up against Alonzo Menefield. That's OSP's return fight to light heavyweight.
Yep.
Then you have another light heavyweight fight, Marcin Prachnio versus Mike Rodriguez. Then women's flyweight fight, Maria Agapova versus Shayna Dobson. And to start our night off for the main card, welterweight action, Daniel Rodriguez versus Takashi Sato. So
get me right into that first fight.
Let's start with our first fight, welterweight, Daniel Rodriguez versus Takashi Sato.
I'm ready for this one.
You take it away.
I told you when you walked in to the studio today, I said, this is going to be fight of the night.
Mm-hmm.
And my mind has not changed.
I think I agree with you, too.
So, Takashi Sato?
Yeah, that's
Sato?
how Dana said it.
Takashi Sato. 10 first-round finishes. 10 first-round finishes. 16-3 overall record. He's got 11 KO TKOs and 2 submissions. He's coming off of a huge knockout. This is a guy with a lot of hype behind him. A guy that I wanted to mention this, from Japan. So he's from the Asian, Pacific region.
Right.
We're looking in the UFC for stars from that region. We've got Weili Zhang from China, obviously. And it's good to see a guy with hype like this, still only 30, relatively young in, MMA, on a tear right now, and a guy that you can market well in the Asian region, which I think is huge. And he has no easy task ahead of him.
I like that, making note of that, because the UFC has been talking about that for a while now, about making that big just entry into the Asian market.
Yep.
Because I'm going to, this is kind of a side story, but I think it relates to what you're talking about here. In the early 2000s, the UFC, while they've been around since 1993, but they were not the king of mixed martial arts.
No.
It was Pride Fighting Championship.
Located in Asia.
Yes.
So
they were the biggest MMA promotion in the world, while the UFC was still trying to establish it in the United States. Because really, MMA first took off over there. If you go back even further, you're talking about, also professional wrestling is very big over there.
Yep.
And you had Shudo, which was a promotion that kind of mixed the two elements of professional wrestling and MMA in the 90s. Guys like Ken Shamrock were fighting over there. A lot of their fights were kind of scripted, I guess, but I don't know too much about it, so I don't want to mess up here and say something wrong. But I know that it was a lot of fights where kind of the winner was booked, but they were legitimately fighting towards that finish. So you're kind of mixing the two elements there of professional wrestling with the pre-booking, the booked winners, how they're winning essentially. But then you have the element of mixing fighting styles and doing, technical striking and real fighting.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the roots, and then that moves on to Pride FC, who were just huge in the early 2000s, and they end up going out of business in 2007. They get bought by Zuffa LLC, the parent company of the UFC. Basically, Pride had a lot of ties to the Yakuza, which is their version of the mafia, as we know it in the United States. So the UFC was originally planning to buy Pride and then continue running shows over there under Pride FC, but everybody got too scared to do business with Pride because of the Yakuza stronghold. So they end up closing it, and basically the UFC purchased them for their fight library. A very expensive purchase, I might add. So really since then, the UFC has been looking to kind of establish their name in that market, and it's been very challenging for them to do so. You still have ONE FC that's been very big.
Yep, located over there. Yep.
And other promotions like Ryzen, I believe that's Japan. So other promotions over there that are still very popular. But you see like a champion like Weili Zhang, who is really looking to kind of break out.
That really is like the front runner in this whole busting into that market for the UFC.
So I agree with you completely about looking for those stars that come from Asia, because that's the market that they're really pushing for. I believe they're even planning to do some sort of
a
PI,
UFC,
a UFC Performance Institute over in China, I believe. So they're really trying to hit that market hard, just like they've been doing. They saw them do it really successfully with Europe and Brazil, things like that. And now you even got Abu Dhabi.
It just shows the worldwide footprint,
the scope of of what the UFC is really trying to do. Make this a global sport, a global phenomenon. Yeah. So kind of going back to this fight, and that look at all of that, like what I just summed up for you, years of history, right? And this is the opening fight of the main card of a fight night that a lot of people are not excited for.
This is such a good
But there can be a big implication. This guy, Takashi Sato, he's got that exciting style. He's still in his, really just starting to kind of hit his prime as far as age-wise. And he could very well be, like, he wins this and boom,
I could see top 15 opponent coming next for either one of these guys. I don't know how far back they are, because I don't know how much they do their rankings past 15. But this is an exciting fight.
And it's a tough matchup for him, because he's going up against Daniel Rodriguez, who's 3 years older, 33, but he's 12-1, and has not lost in the UFC.
Yeah, he's got 6 KO, TKOs, 4 submissions. He's won 8 in a row. Yeah. Sato's won 8 of his last 10. Give me this. Sign me up for this.
And Daniel Rodriguez, I like to make note of this. He came from Tuesday Night Contender. So obviously the UFC believes in this guy. And you've seen, he's got wins over like Tim Means. He was scheduled to fight Kevin Holland before that got scrapped. So his level of competition, I would say, is higher than what Takashi Sato has fought so far. Yeah. Although, probably the biggest out of all of those, Takashi Sato did lose to Bilal Muhammad, a guy who's, really
He's very popular in the MMA community.
Yeah, especially on, like, MMA Twitter. Memes he's a very funny guy. So, he was also scheduled to fight Maki Pitolo, a guy we talked about in our pilot episode. That got scrapped. So, coming off that win over Jason Witt in 48 seconds with the ground and pound. Daniel Rodriguez coming off a decision win against Gabe Green, but before that, getting that standing guillotine choke against Tim Means. I'm very excited for that fight.
That's my fight of the night prediction.
And Dana White put it on. If you don't know, now you know. So there's a lot of implications with that fight. Maybe we're shooting too high when we're talking about Takashi Sato being the star of the Asian market, but you never know.
That's what they're looking for. Only way to find out: watch them fight Saturday night.
And then the second fight, also big implications for that flyweight division. Because
go ahead.
I think one of these two competitors might be about to be the next star of that division.
The women's flyweight.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm telling you right now.
Maria Agapova
Watch
versus
out
Shayna
for this
Dobson.
Woman. Watch out for Agapova.
And I'm gonna say something.
Say it? Yeah. Agapova.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say this right off the rip. And feel free to. I'm definitely setting myself up for if something else happens here that I'm gonna look with some egg in my face, like look stupid. So feel free to roast me if this doesn't happen.
Please do.
This matchup is completely made for her to just dominate.
Oh, I agree with that.
Shayna Dobson is 3-4.
That's a negative record.
She's lost her last 3 fights. She is 1-3 in the UFC. Yeah, I definitely think that Maria Agapova is about to dominate this fight.
Yeah, so this Maria, is it Maria or Mariah? I don't even know.
It might be Mariah. We can go with Mariah.
Maria Agapova, if you're watching,
With
we apologize.
With that Y in there, we'll go with Mariah.
Yeah. 9-1.
Mm-hmm.
She's only 23 years old. Busting into the women's flyweight division, a division that's looking for contenders to compete with Valentina Shevchenko, one of the most dominant UFC champions there is right now in the whole organization. Now, another note before I go into more stats on her that relates to the first fight of the night. Mm-hmm. This is the only and first ever UFC fighter from the country of Kazakhstan.
Really?
Again, going back to the point, the UFC has that global footprint.
See, I'm really glad that you made note of that, because I mentioned in the pilot episode about the first fighter from the country, I think it was Jordan.
Yeah, right. I remember that.
So it's really cool that just the fact that in 2020 we're still getting our first guys from these different countries in a sport that...
Or gals.
Yeah, or gals. In a fight that, or in a time frame where it feels like the sport is so global, but the fact that it's still expanding,
there's still so much more. Like, there's a reason they say it's the fastest growing sports organization in the world. Mm-hmm. They're not slowing down.
Not at all.
Not even close.
And with what did we say, Mariah here. She's really, she was on the Contender Series as well.
Yep.
That's her one loss. She lost to Tracy Cortez by decision. So she goes to Invicta, who has kind of been the recruitment ground for women's fighters.
A lot of stud female fighters.
Kind of like the minor leagues, if you will,
yeah.
for women's fighters in UFC. Gets 2 wins by finish in there. Rear naked choke in 3 minutes against Alexa Connors, and then the ground and pound finish, 4 minutes 55 seconds of round 1 against... Ooh, I don't know. I should have read that. Marilia Santos.
That's good.
Comes back to the UFC against Hannah Cyphers, another name.
That's a big name to come into the UFC with.
Finishes
like a
her
tough chick.
Rear naked choke finish in 2 minutes and 42 seconds of round 1.
Oh, man.
I love to see that, because we've mentioned before that not that women's MMA isn't exciting, but the fact that there's less finishes.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of decisions in women's MMA.
And I've seen clips of this Agapova. She can throw hands.
Yeah.
She set up the hands on Cyphers, hurt her with a head kick, if I'm not mistaken, landed some shots, and then boom, grabs her standing, puts her in the rear naked, and then drops back and made her tap.
I'm ready after this fight, assuming she does what I just predicted her to do, and really set myself up to be roasted if she doesn't do. If she does that, if she delivers here, I know, against a competitor that's not looking super strong right now,
mm-hmm.
I'm ready to go buy all in.
Buy all in. I'm all on this hype train.
I'm buying my Agapova stock now.
Yeah.
Just because I like to kind of jump on, like, really buy into these people early on. It's nice to see someone who's not yet got that name to her. Again, her biggest platform before this was Contender Series, and she lost that fight.
And I've seen this week they're trying to push her.
Yeah.
Big. Another fighter, again, from a market we don't see.
Right.
Brett Okamoto had a great interview with her. I haven't caught the whole thing, but he did an interview with her. She was on the UFC video I mentioned to you earlier today. Dana put her on. If you don't know now, you know. They're high on this girl, and for good reason. Again, literally 9-1. Only losses on the Contender Series. 7 of her 9 wins are by finish. 6 of those 7, first round.
Yep.
We're going to be looking at a quick night.
I think so, because on the other end, we got Shayna Dobson, who we just said her overall record's 3-4. She's 1-3 officially in the UFC. She's actually an Ultimate Fighter vet. She was on the season of the inaugural, where they crowned the inaugural flyweight champion. So that's kind of cool.
Shout out Nico.
Yeah, shout out Nico. On that show, she actually lost her first fight against Roxanne Modafferi, another girl who's kind of...
That's like a legend of female mixed martial arts.
Yeah, it's kind of weird,
like,
isn't
really.
it?
She's got like 40 fights.
So she loses her first fight on The Ultimate Fighter, ends up coming back for the finale, and has her only UFC victory against Ariel Beck, round 2. Then the 3-fight losing streak, she loses back-to-back decisions to Lauren Mueller and then Sabina Mazo. And then ultimately a former title challenger, Priscilla Cachoeira, uppercuts her over 40 seconds. That's why I think this fight, first round finish, is kind of where I'm leaning here. First round.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'll be a submission or KO, TKO.
I'm with you. I'm also going first round finish for Agapova in this one.
Yeah.
Well, real quick before we go into the third fight, we didn't do our prediction for the first fight.
Yeah,
we predicted fight of the night.
Yeah.
But we forgot to make our actual prediction.
I think this fight goes the distance.
I see
really
a 3-round war.
I see a 3-round war. And, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to lean here Daniel Rodriguez.
Okay, just to make it fun, I'm going Takashi.
This really could go either way.
Yeah, this really could. We're both saying 3-round war.
Yeah.
I'm picking Sato. You've got Rodriguez.
I think that, and I feel kind of bad saying that because I just set up Sato to take over the entire Asian market.
Yeah, right.
But what I'm kind of looking at here is I'm looking at Rodriguez is, for one, how great he's looked in the UFC and his record in the UFC, but also he's 3 years older. I think maybe that added kind of experience there will be to his benefit. And that win against Tim Means, I'm going to keep going back to, but
That's a big win.
It's a big win for him, and for the other side, Sato, his only kind of, I guess, I mean, he did have a win over Ben Saunders, who at one time people thought might be a up and coming contender, but that his comparable fight with Bilal Muhammad, he loses that fight.
Yeah.
Not the most, not the smartest way to be making decisions, with doing MMA math like that, because that never works out. But definitely going to be an amazing fight. Could totally see it going either way.
Oh, yeah.
I might even go so far as say split decision. I don't want to do that because then I'm really setting myself up to not get that prediction right. But I just think that fight's going to be so much fun. So
now we're back on track.
Yeah,
We've got our predictions in for the first 2 fights of the night.
So the third fight. What I think excites me about this one, because you mentioned this as soon as I walked in, this is kind of loser leaves the brand.
That's what I've seen in a few articles.
Yeah.
Again, these are some guys, especially these two. There's not really much talk about this fight, but other than like the articles that I had to dig in and find information about these guys. I do want to say though, so we've got Mike Rodriguez, who's 10-4, going up against Marcin Prachnio.
Yeah,
okay. Pragnio's 13-4. Rodriguez is 10-4. This is at 205 pounds, so light heavyweight. I did, some just quick stats before we break it down. We've got Mike Rodriguez. He's finished every win that he has. So he's 10-4, all 10 wins by finish, 8 KO, TKOs, 2 submissions. Pragnio has finished 11 of his 13 wins, 10 by KO, TKO, 1 submission. However, Pragnio, I did make a note on this with a little star. Pragnio has fought 2 times in the UFC, and he's 0-2 in both fights, and has been finished in both of those.
Can we get a W in the chat for Dom's research going in here? I'm loving these statistics you're pulling out. You're really, the nerd in me is just so proud to see that.
Well, thanks.
I'm loving the breakdown there.
I hope the lovely listeners are just learning from us. That's all.
Yeah, that's all we want to see. And and I think you're right. That's a good point to make with the 0-2 in the UFC.
It really stood out too that both were by finish.
On the other end, Mike Rodriguez came from the Contender Series again. I like making note of this.
Shout out the Contender Series.
Yeah, my favorite, basically probably my favorite ongoing product in the UFC.
Series.
Yeah. As much as I love Looking for a Fight or The Ultimate Fighter, this is my favorite.
Yes.
He gets the win over Jamel Jones in that 2 minutes, flying knee and punches. Overall, he is, I believe, 2-2 in the UFC. And ultimately, I think he's going to win this fight. But let me give Pragnio his respect here. He came from one FC.
Yeah,
so
legit dudes.
He came from a big promotion.
Yeah.
And his 2 losses have been to legit guys: Sam Alvey, Magomed Ankalaev. I believe is how it's pronounced. Both
Again,
by
10 out
finish.
of 10 from you.
Thank you. So he's fought tougher competition. I guess why I'm kind of leaning here, I might sound a little dumb to someone who knows a lot more about fighting styles and whatnot, but what stuck out to me is Prochnio is a karate fighter.
It's an interesting style.
That loss against Sam Alvey, as you were pointing
Smiling
out to me,
Sam.
Yeah, as you point out to me, he essentially was just walking into Sam Alvey's
He
shots.
basically showed no level of fighter IQ.
Yeah.
Which you kind of need when you're in the UFC.
Yes.
Especially against a guy like Sam Alvey, by the way.
And for Mike Rodriguez, in his 2 wins, you have the flying knee, and then you have the knee to the body and punches. I think this is set up. I'm not saying that it's going to be his 3rd win by flying knee or knee to the body, but I think for a guy that seems to be able to get these wins in kind of a almost highlight reel fashion, able to really put some power into some shots, whether it's with the knee, with the legs, with the punches. I think that's what this is kind of going to end up being. I really wanted to go Prochnio just because it seemed like he has more competition behind him. But I think I'm going to go Mike Rodriguez by... I'll give Prochnio this. I'll go 3rd round TKO KO.
So I'm going to agree with you on Mike Rodriguez. I'm going to take him. I think this fight is still going to be fun.
I agree.
Like, there's something about all 5 of these fights that intrigue me a lot. These guys go for the finish, obviously, as we've stated with these KOs, TKOs that they have. I'm thinking we've got a barn burner to start the first round off. I think Rodriguez gets some better of the exchanges. So I'm going to go a 2nd round KO, TKO for Mike Rodriguez.
Yeah, and ultimately I think Prochnio will be... I think this is a loser leaves the brand, which... You know, for this fight...
It's hard for the lesser-known guys,
for this fight
you know?
being 3rd, like, probably the least amount of hype for us personally going into it. You know, we talked about that first fight, how on paper that looks awesome. Second fight with Mariah Agapova, how we think this is going to be kind of her
coming out
party for a lot of people. Then you got OSP back at light heavyweight going up against another good guy in Alonzo Menafield, and then obviously the main event.
Yeah.
So really there's like the least amount of hype for us for this, but I like it has that added factor of like...
You better put on a show.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that I like that someone will potentially be cut from the UFC.
And again, still hypothetical, but, you know...
It just adds some hype for us personally because...
Yeah.
That's one of the things I always loved about the Contender Series. It's like...
If you don't win, you're not in.
Yeah, it's kind of like it's almost like a fight to the death in that way. Like, does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I always like where there's that added interest based on this is really like you win, you stay, you leave, or you lose, you leave.
Yeah.
So both guys are going to be coming in.
They're going to bring it.
They're going to bring it, but I'm leaning Mike Rodriguez here. So
I like it.
Moving on to the co-main here.
OSP.
Ovid St. Preux, the vet of the light heavyweight division.
God, he fights all the time.
Yeah, he's moving back down. He had that one fight at heavyweight against Ben Rothwell, and he's going up against Alonzo Menafield. So, Dom, break it down for the viewers here.
Well, let me just tell you, I'm glad he's back down at 205. He's where he belongs. I was very intrigued to see him at heavyweight. This is a guy that used to play college football at the University of Tennessee.
Yeah.
He ain't small.
No.
So it was good to see him go up there and try it, but I don't want to see it again. He tired out very badly. Not saying Ben Rothwell is he's no joke, right?
Ben Rothwell's kind of a pressure guy. He's a guy that likes...
That fight was wild pressure.
So Ben Rothwell likes to clinch and like lay on you and put that weight on you.
Yeah.
So for someone like OSP, first time with that added weight.
Yeah, he had to carry his own added weight.
It's weird because I really enjoyed that fight. I think it's kind of a fight that a lot of people overlooked on that card.
Yeah.
But I actually remember really enjoying it because OSP had his moments. He was landing some big shots.
Yeah, he did.
And Ben Rothwell was landing as well. But I guess if you look at it from OSP's like perspective, like just look at it how he looked in that fight, not a great performance.
Yeah,
even though I enjoyed the fight, ultimately he gassed out very quickly. And
I think it was just the weight.
He loses by split decision to Rothwell. Rothwell, the bigger guy who just looked a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
Just, So I guess I wouldn't have minded seeing OSP stick at heavyweight just because I like to see guys kind of, if they're making that move, I want it to kind of work out for them. But,
yeah.
Probably a smart idea going back to light heavy.
It's a more natural.
Especially now that John Joseph's gone. Who knows?
Right.
OSP
We're talking about a guy that fought for a title just a few years ago.
Yeah.
And,
well, he didn't fight for the title, did he?
It was the interim belt, him and John.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah. I mean, but
I could be wrong, but regardless, he fought John Jones. Right?
He's been in that top 6, 7 discussion for years now. So basically, I look at him still kind of being in that same range for this fight, even though he's not technically ranked at all in light heavyweight, I don't think.
And I love watching OSP. He's known for his Von Preux choke, if I'm not mistaken, that's what it's called. He has 4 of them, which is like a submission if you haven't heard of it.
It's Von Flue.
Von Flue. Yeah. Von Flue. It should be
called Von Preux.
It should be called the Saint Preux. Because this man has 4 of them in the UFC. And a submission that you never see that submission. And especially for the bigger guys to be doing this.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, I'm on Alonzo Menifield hype train right now.
Mm-hmm.
3-1 in the UFC. 9-1 overall. Ladies and gentlemen, this man has finished all 9 wins.
Yeah.
8 by KO, TKO, 1 submission. Now, I do just want to give OSP credit where it's due. He's got 24 wins, and 19 of those are by submission, or by finish, I should say. 11 via KO, TKO, 8 submissions. And again, we already mentioned he's coming back to light heavyweight after the 1-fight stint at heavyweight. He's back to light heavyweight. Mm-hmm. I think I messed up there, but you get what I'm saying. But ultimately, I really like this Alonzo Menifield guy, even though he's only got 4 fights right now in the UFC. I think he's coming out swinging. I think he's putting OSP down in round 1.
Really?
Yes.
So this will be fun.
Let's hear it.
Let me give Alonzo Menifield his props first. Another Tuesday Night Contender Series guy.
Stacked.
Beat Deshaun Boatwright in 8 seconds.
8 seconds.
I don't care who you're facing. Finishing someone, knocking them out.
You can barely walk across the octagon in 8 seconds.
Yeah. I don't care who you are. Finishing a fight in 8 seconds is impressive.
Put a guy to sleep in 8 seconds.
Then he gets a KO win over...
You're getting some tough names tonight. Vinicius.
Fuck it. I'm not even saying it.
Vinicius Moreira.
Moreira gets knocked out in 3 minutes 56 seconds. Fuck that first name. Not even going to try.
Well, you're no longer a 10 out of 10.
Vinicius.
There you go. That's what I think it is.
That doesn't even sound
Vinicius. Right. Anyways.
Then gets another KO win in 3 minutes against Paul Craig.
And that's your standout guy on the resume.
That's the standout guy for sure.
Yeah.
A guy who went to a majority draw with Shogun Hua.
Yeah.
That's another fight that got rematched. They're having their rematch at 255.
Such a great fight, but we ultimately took it off the
Then he gets a couple of fights that get canceled against Trevor Smith and Devin Clark. Ultimately, that fight gets rebooked with Devin Clark. He loses by unanimous decision. That happened in June at UFC 250. I definitely believe in Alonzo Menifield. But I might think this matchup might be a little too soon for him.
Really? Hey, OSP's a vet if you could list one.
Yeah, let's just say for OSP, he has shown to have a suspect chin at times. So that could definitely bode well for someone who's a powerful striker like Menifield to put him out. But I think I'm going to go the other way here, and I'm going to say OSP by first round submission.
First round submission, OSP.
Yeah.
First round KO.
So what you have to realize with submissions, right? The longer the fight goes, the harder a submission is.
Yeah.
Guys get sweaty.
Yep.
You have less, you're a little more fatigued.
Less energy. Yep.
So you're not able to really put that force into that choke. That
especially on a guy that performs chokes.
Yeah. So I'm saying first round. I definitely could see Menifield dropping OSP,
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe a scramble ensues. Maybe he puts down OSP, tries to jump straight to his guard maybe, and then OSP is able to kind of reverse the position.
Yep.
That's kind of how I'm seeing it going. So overall, it's a first round submission, and it'll be disappointing for Menifield, but by no means do I think Menifield is done.
Oh no,
I don't think it's like a hype train derailed or anything.
Yeah.
I just think that maybe it's too soon. I legitimately still believe OSP is the top 10 light heavyweight. And
what is he in the rankings right now?
He's not ranked because he moved the heavyweight.
Oh, they took him out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I still believe at least I think he's not in here. But go ahead and keep talking while I look here.
No, I mean, I completely could see that as a possibility. OSP is a guy that's fought the who's who.
Yeah,
38 professional fights.
He's not ranked.
Not ranked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for. I like OSP personally. I like watching him fight.
I do too.
I could see him finishing it, but we're agreeing to disagree on this one.
I mean, we were saying first round.
First round finishes.
Yeah.
Different guys, different types of finishes.
Literally, if Menifield just kind of messes up one little thing, then your finish turns into my finish.
Yep, and vice versa, really.
Yeah, and vice versa.
Potentially.
Yeah,
I guess mine could lead to yours easier, but...
But, I'm very excited to see that fight because I think there's just a lot that could happen there. Both guys who really come in and finish in different ways.
Yeah, OSP's always that guy that's co-maining a fight night.
Yeah. He's game.
A household name, but not like a star. You know what I mean?
Right. He's always game too, man.
He fights a lot.
A submission specialist going up against a guy that's finishing everybody.
Oh yeah.
So on paper, that's exciting. And now that brings us to the main event of the evening.
The answer.
Frankie Edgar.
Hey, Frankie.
Bantamweight debut against Pedro Munoz. Dom, break it down for the viewers.
Oh, let me tell you, we've been waiting on this 135-pound debut for a long time from Mr. Frankie Edgar.
We have.
He's been saying leading up to this fight on Saturday, this has been long overdue. He feels this is his natural weight. Really, this isn't even up for debate, in my opinion. He's always been undersized.
Yeah.
At 155, where he was freaking champion of the world, by the way, he was undersized. He dropped down to 145. Still undersized.
Yep.
Now he's at that weight class where people are going to be his size.
Yeah.
They're going to be the same height. I think that's the biggest thing for a guy like Frankie. Short limbs, just a short dude. To be fighting at 155 is crazy. I do hope the weight cut doesn't drain him too bad. He said he started earlier than usual to get rid of that extra 10 pounds. So I don't think he'll have an issue, especially a vet like Frankie. I can't see a guy like him missing weight, hopefully.
Yeah, it's so crazy, though. He was the lightweight champion. And now he's fighting at bantamweight all these years later.
Yeah.
Usually you don't see that.
It's the opposite.
Usually guys are moving up when they get older.
Yeah.
Frankie has always said, he's like, I didn't want to cut weight. I didn't want to feel compromised. But ultimately, for him, he moved down to featherweight because really those guys that were coming from WEC, Strikeforce, whatever, they were just a lot bigger, a lot more athletic, even maybe stronger. Frankie was just kind of getting to... He could see the writing on the wall, right?
Yeah.
Loses that belt to Benson Henderson, a tough-ass guy, a guy who is big and strong and fast, all those things I just said. So he drops down to featherweight, which is where he was from 2013 till now.
It's crazy he was there that long.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I thought maybe it hadn't been that long, but his
first fight, it was yesterday.
His first fight at featherweight 2013 was against the featherweight champion Jose Aldo.
Wow.
Crazy to think that, huh?
Number 5 on my GOAT list, by the way.
Number 5 on the GOAT list. So Frankie Edgar, been kind of a staple of 2 different divisions, making that the second time he's dropping weight to bantamweight. Dom, do you want to say for Munoz here, kind of what's it?
Yeah, Frankie's coming in and fighting a legit contender.
Yeah, dude.
Pedro Munoz is on. He's won 3 of his last 4. He's 18-4 overall. 13 of those 18 wins are by finish. 5 KO, TKOs, 8 submissions. One of those KOs, by the way. I guess we have to bring this up, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, just recently, Pedro Munoz knocked out our boy, no love, Cody Garbrandt.
Tough to see.
Tough to see. Frankie, on the other hand, 23 wins, 8 losses, 1 draw. This man has seen it all.
If you look at that trilogy with
Gray Maynard,
the bully,
go watch that.
especially the second fight. I mean, the first fight they had less hype. I think it was like a co-main on a fight night, which back then on Spike TV, not near the cards they're putting nowadays.
Yep.
Ultimately, Maynard gets the decision win. They rematch once Edgar's champion. That second fight. Let's put it like this. That is the most lopsided, what was it, first round?
Dude.
That first round was...
Frankie got dropped 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, in
that
one round.
That round could have been 10-7.
I was about to say the same thing.
For Gray Maynard.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody after that first round thought Frankie had a chance in hell of pulling out that win.
Yeah.
And he didn't pull out the win.
Yeah.
But
notice, I said there's a draw on his record.
Jesus Christ, dude. What a comeback.
What a war.
Maynard kind of fatigues. I mean, he really went for the finish, as you would.
Yeah.
After dropping a fucking person 3 times.
Did he get a 10-8 then, I would assume?
I think so.
Even in a time where that was really rare.
That was really rare.
This was years ago.
Now it would be a 10-7.
It would probably be a 10-7 now.
10-6. I mean...
Can you give a guy a 0? Because, sheesh.
Ouch, owie.
Yeah.
But it ends up being a draw, which, God...
You never see draws.
Gray Maynard probably fucking... I feel bad to be any fucking item in his hotel room that night.
Yeah.
They were all smashed.
Yeah.
He smashed all of them. Lamps thrown against the wall. Everything. Because, my God, man, you had that. Like, that first round, you just looked incredible.
It's like, what does it take to finish Frankie Edgar?
Yeah.
This man, I've been kind of waiting to get into this. Okay, I'll mention one last thing on Frankie, right? He's got 23 wins, 11 of them by finish, 7 KO, TKOs, 4 submissions. So less than 50% of his wins come by finish.
Right.
Frankie Edgar has the most fight time out of any fighter that's ever stepped foot in the UFC.
Yeah.
So what I was going toward is that Frankie did not ever get finished. Win or lose. Obviously, if he won, he finished people too. But in a loss, it was always by decision until, Mr. Brian Ortega.
Yep.
What year was that, Noah? Let the people know.
It was, March 3rd, 2018.
2018. When did Frankie make his UFC debut? I just want to check that out real quick. It's probably so far back you can't find
February 3rd, 2007.
2007. Folks, that's 11 years that every time this man lost, he never got put away.
Never.
So, going back to the Gray Maynard fight, Frankie Edgar is tough as hell. That's what we're getting at.
Yeah.
This man's chin is made of granite.
Well, you made a point. You said, what does it take to...
What does it take to finish this man?
Well, I'll tell you what it takes.
It takes an uppercut from Brian Ortega.
It takes him aging.
Okay.
I know that's...
yes.
I think that was a bit of... I think
True.
I think I set up that answer to be a little bit...
You stole my thunder from hyping up my man's Brian Ortega. That's okay, though. I do agree. That makes sense.
It takes him becoming old.
Yeah.
That's what it takes for him to get...
The chin's got to weaken at some point.
So, I'll let you continue with your thoughts on Ortega there.
Well...
Oh, is that
No. Well, shout out Brian Ortega, T-City. This man was known for his submissions. He hit Frankie with this uppercut, right?
Uppercut from hell, Dom.
Frankie's body floated in the air.
Floated.
He went, whoop, and then fell to the ground. Go look at it. But I'm not taking anything away from Frankie.
Yeah.
Again, this was the first time he had ever been finished in his UFC career. Maybe his whole career.
No, his whole career.
Whole career.
Yeah.
And it's just the toughness of Frankie Edgar.
So then, after that fight, a big matchup with Cub Swanson, a guy who I will continue to talk about how much I love Cub Swanson. But Frankie gets the decision win there. Bounce back fight in Atlantic City. Then he gets a title fight with Max Holloway.
Blessed.
Max does what I think everybody thought he would do in that fight.
Not the most exciting, but he dominated.
Yeah, I mean, it was not like Frankie was ever really hurt or anything.
Max just controlled
Max
the distance.
kept the distance.
Yeah.
You know, that reach advantage probably pretty significant.
Yeah, it was big in that fight.
And then he goes up against another one of my favorites.
Yeah, what's he known as?
The Korean Zombie.
Yeah, who's he fighting next, by the way?
Literal zombie. Oh, he's fighting Brian Ortega.
Oh, yeah, wait. Who are the two guys that have finished Frankie Edgar?
I think it's Brian Ortega and Korean Zombie, Dom.
That's all I got to say.
Korean Zombie also finishes Frankie Edgar in about 3 minutes. So, coming off that loss, you have seen Frankie Edgar be finished twice in basically a year at that time.
He's lost 3 of his last 4.
Yeah.
Again, all great opponents.
I remember at the time of that Korean Zombie loss, I think, if I remember right, that was originally supposed to be Ortega versus Zombie.
Probably the first time, yeah.
And Edgar jumps in late notice.
True.
But I remember the chatter after that fight online
Time to hang
that
him up.
Frankie needs to retire because, again, a guy who had not been finished at all in 13 years, you said?
Yeah.
Or 11 years.
Yeah. In the UFC.
Yeah.
Probably the longer.
It was 2005 when he made his professional debut,
Yeah,
so
so
13 years. Then he gets finished twice in a year. You have to...
A guy that has nothing left to prove either.
Yeah, you have to kind of question that, losing 3 of his last 4. Like, it felt like maybe it was time to hang him up. But he said...
nope.
He said, psych.
He said, I've got the answer. See what I did there? He's known as Frankie the Answer Edgar, for anyone confused on that. You're looking at me again. Actually, you're not even looking at me. You're just... Okay. So anyway, he's fighting Pedro Munoz. You know, I've been on the fence about this one, though.
Yeah, I think I am, too.
But, you know, I'm really excited to see this new look Frankie. Again, Pedro's game. Knockout, submissions. He's a stud. He beat our boy Cody. I might shock you here, and I might shock our listeners. I'm going a Frankie Edgar decision victory here.
Decision victory.
In the main event of the evening.
So, let's give Pedro his respect here.
Yeah, we've been talking about Frankie a lot.
Which, I mean, Frankie is the more accomplished fighter. But Pedro Munoz, even before the Cody fight, he was on a 3-fight win streak during that time. He beat Brett Johns by decision, Brian Caraway by the body kick and punches. That was in less than 3 minutes, so obviously very impressive there. And then gets that KO win over Cody, a fight where he was taking Cody's best shots and just...
What a fight. That fight won fight of the night, and it only went, 4 minutes?
There was 9 seconds left in the round. So
9 seconds left in the... Oh, God.
That fight was awesome because really both guys just stood and traded with each other.
It was insane.
And Pedro came out on top. And who would have thought that with Cody's, like, the power and speed that guy has for the division? And then he ends up losing a decision to Aljamain Sterling, the guy who looks like is next for the title shot. The guy you're big on.
My prediction for a champion this time next year.
Yeah, so ultimately, though, Pedro has not fought since June of 2019, so it's been a little over a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That was that long ago.
Yeah, UFC 238.
Because I feel like him beating Cody was just yesterday.
And that Cody fight was literally...
That seems more recent than him fighting.
Yeah, March 2019 was the Cody fight.
Wow, that's crazy.
So, ultimately here, I am going to...
Let's hear it. Let them know.
I'm going to go with Munoz by decision.
Munoz.
Sorry.
Did you just mess up your prediction?
Yeah, I was going to say it's Munoz.
Munoz.
By stoppage.
Or via KO or submission.
KO, TKO.
Okay.
I'm thinking round 2. We go round 2, KO, TKO.
Do you think if Frankie loses, this should be it?
I think this should be it for Frankie.
If he wins, what do you want to see next?
If Frankie wins, I mean...
Pull up that bantamweight division
If you really think about it, if he wins...
This division's on fire right now.
Munoz is the number 5 ranked bantamweight. So you would think that might move him to number 5.
I see a name sticking out to me right now.
Is it a third fight with Jose Aldo?
Actually, it isn't. But I'm not opposed to that because it's both their new weight classes. So now I'm kind of leaning more toward that one.
A third fight with Jose Aldo at bantamweight?
Why not? Two legends, nothing left to prove.
Yeah.
I was gonna actually say Sandhagen though, but again, I guess he's kind
it
of.
almost feels like if he
huh?
won that fight, that could be a fight that Dominic Cruz takes too, because Dominic Cruz has said that he only wants to fight big names.
Imagine who would have ever thought a Cruz versus Edgar?
Hire me, UFC.
Wow.
Put me in
I
the
like
meeting.
that.
Sean Shelby.
If Dominic Cruz is not done, I know that would technically be a lower ranked fight for Frankie, but do you think Frankie really cares about the rankings? Like, I'm not saying he doesn't want a title.
Dominic Cruz is not the 11th Rick Van. I mean, he is.
But yeah, but he's not.
But like,
yeah, I saw that the other day. I'm like, huh?
I don't understand that.
That's kind of crazy.
But all in all, I don't think Frankie's going to win this fight. I will say, while we were talking about Frankie, I almost convinced myself to like switch it.
Mm-hmm.
But Munoz, that guy just has some power in his hands. He is very quick on his feet as well.
Yeah.
I just think he's going to be too much for Frankie. I know Frankie coming down 2 weight classes, he has to have it. Eventually, he's going to have an advantage as far as size and
Yeah.
But it's a tough fight for him. It's coming off 2 knockout losses essentially, and it's been a while since we've seen him fight. I just think Munoz is going to have that power to put him away again. I think this will be the last time we see Frankie Edgar in the UFC. Tough to say because you never want to predict a legend.
That's a legend.
Yeah. It's tough to say that, but that's kind of how I see it. This isn't WWE. Fights aren't
scripted.
They aren't scripted. Just because it looks like this fight is set up for Frankie to have a triumphant victory doesn't happen that way.
Yeah, it doesn't.
So, all in all, that's my thoughts. Anything else you want to mention?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's UFC Vegas 7, Saturday
Vegas
night,
7.
August 22nd.
So
it's an earlier card.
Make sure to check out the card. The
think it's at
prelims start at 6 o'clock on UFC or ESPN Plus. Sorry. And then the main card's on ESPN. So
the network.
Yeah.
You don't need ESPN Plus.
So if you guys have ESPN, all you need is the app, really, too, I think.
Yeah,
you just get the app.
I'm telling you guys, I said it when we started the preview. I'm saying it again right now at the end of the preview. Don't sleep on these fights. Just because of the names of the fighters.
Yeah.
Especially this main card. You guys know we only break down the main cards. I'm telling you.
Make sure to check out the main card on ESPN. If you have ESPN Plus, check out the prelims as well.
Yeah.
And we're going to wrap this up. First, I'm going to talk about our next couple episodes we have coming up.
Let them hear it.
Monday, we will have the recap of UFC Apex 7, along with the news.
To the way it's looking, we're going to have another hour's worth of news.
Yeah, let's hope not. Well, I don't want to say that. I always love having news, but hopefully it's...
We need a break.
Hopefully it's the kind of news we've been getting and not people pulling out of fights.
Right.
And then Wednesday, the special videos.
It's special episode day. It's the hump day
Special
video.
episode number 3.
And not only is this a special episode, this is a special episode near and dear to our hearts.
I was going to say, not only is this special for the viewers, it's special to us.
It's going to be fun.
You guys know back when you were in kindergarten, 1st grade, 2nd grade, you always had that after recess or so, you come in and the teacher tells you guys to all get on the carpet. And she pulls out a book. Maybe it's
it's story time.
ABC Mysteries, or I don't even know the fucking
Magic Treehouse.
Magic Treehouse. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, Captain Underpants.
Captain Underpants starts reading. That's what we're gonna do. So we're all gonna gather on the reading rug.
We're gonna no. We're gonna gather in the octagon. They're gonna sit crisscross applesauce on the no. All right.
I like the reading rug better.
All right. I'm gonna shut up.
So,
go ahead and finish. You are painting the picture.
And we're going to do a little story time.
It's story time, folks.
And we're going to go back to September of 2016 and really just
take a trip down memory lane.
Take a trip down memory lane to the first live event and the only live event we've been able to go to, UFC 203 in Cleveland. And again, that day me and Dom, as much as we've talked about, everything involving UFC, it's been a while since
We've not ever really sat down and talked about the whole day, have we?
Because I promise you guys, you won't want to miss that episode because there is so much that happened in that day.
What an amazing day.
What an amazing day, but at times
hectic.
Stressful.
Oh, yeah.
At times scary.
Near-death experiences, embarrassing moments.
At times, yes. at times hilarious.
Yeah.
So
one of the best days of my life.
And I can't wait to just kind of go back and just
break it down.
Really recap that day and talk about everything we got to see and what we experienced. So I'm really excited to do
this. This is going to be an awesome special episode.
Yeah, so
I cannot wait.
Be on the lookout for that. And then Dominic, tell the people where they can find you on social media.
Well, for me personally, it's going to be Instagram and Twitter, DSalee14. Again, more importantly, go give us a follow on our Below Average Joe's UFC podcast Instagram. The official @ is Below Average Joe's _podcast.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ntbaker_. And with that, we're out, and we'll see y'all on Monday.